And today we've come here to talk about how can Jira Service Management improve the quality of your IT services. And today's speaker is Romain Pisani, Pre-Sales Manager in our Canadian office. Over to you, Romain.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Hello, everyone. My name is Romain Pisani. I am the Pre-Sales Manager for Valiantis. And here's our plan for today. We're going to talk about Jira Service Management and how it changes from Jira Service Desk, which you may be familiar with. So the plan for today is to first talk a little bit about what is Jira Service Management and how this is essentially the next generation of what Jira Service Desk was. After this, we'll jump into the tools for a demo of some of these new features that Jira Service Management brings to the table. We'll come back into PowerPoint to talk a little bit about what's coming, right? So we'll see what is currently live, but we'll talk about the roadmap and the changes that are to come for 2021. Finally, we'll have a quick note around how you can benefit from these features if you've not yet managed to do so, and we'll end up with our Q&A session. So Jira Service Management is essentially, as we mentioned, the new generation of Jira Service Desk, and it comes with a set of features that are brand new and deeper integration with some of the other Atlassian tools, like Bitbucket, for example. So Atlassian gave some reasons as to what motivated this change, and it is related to what they heard from the market and from the industry. In particular, there's a couple of points that they've built Jira Service Management around, right? And this is, number one, the increase of user expectations. So when you're working in an IT organization, your customers, your end users are expecting consumer-grade services. They want to have a refined interface. They want to have easy access to the services. And that becomes more and more important. And some of the legacy tools are looking really, really dated nowadays. So Jira Service Management has put a lot of effort into making sure that this refined experience, essentially for the end user, is up to their standards and expectation. There is a lot of traction around Agile and DevOps, and a lot of IT departments are rethinking the way they work with the dev team or development in general. And this means that the tools have to be flexible to adapt to this. And Jira Service Management packs a lot of new features in that domain to help the workflows from dev to ops and make sure that there is this level of integration and communication between those teams. Of course, there is the rise of remote work, and this is something that we've all experienced over the last year, let's say. Where more and more people work remotely in distributed teams. And so it's essential to have a central point of collaboration, a platform that you can use to track work and collaborate as a team. Finally, there is the notion of cost, right? Because of everything that happened over the last year as well, a lot of organizations have developed cost sensitivity, and where traditional IT tools can be really expensive to buy and deploy, Jira Service Management comes with a simpler approach to this type of deployment, and a quicker time to value, and an overall lower total cost of ownership. So if we look at the goal of Jira Service Management is really to empower teams to deliver end-to-end value at high velocity. So what does this mean? It just means that these different teams that are going to collaborate to provide services to your end users, they need to be able to do so in a fast and efficient manner. And this means that you need to accelerate the flow of work between those different teams, and that could be between development and operations, for example, but that can be broader than this for other teams like IT, like facilities, HR, any team that may provide services or be involved in providing services to your end users. And finally, one thing that is really important here for Atlassian is the notion of making work visible. And that's a big part of collaboration, is this ability to link the work together across those different teams and to make sure that you have traceability and that you can follow and report on that work. So Jira Service Management has been built for ITSM, and it's been built around three key principles. And the first one is this notion of delivering amazing services, right? The idea of providing consumer-grade experience to internal users as well as external users, and having the ability to automate in the background to make sure that you provide fast service for that end user, with the ability as well to make things self-service on the portal. The second aspect is fix fast. And this is where we look at incident management and some of the new features that are brought with the integration of Opsgenie into the Jira Service Management Cloud, where you have a lot of features around incident swarming and incident resolution that help fix issues faster. And finally, the change fast side of things, where here we're going to look at this workflow for work between the dev and ops teams and make sure that changes that are made to specific environments can be captured, documented, approved in a very efficient manner, because these dev teams now have to develop to actually deploy more often and faster than ever. So the change practices have to adapt to this, and we'll see examples of this in the demo. Talking about the demonstration, let's jump right into it. And let me switch the screen to jump into the demo. So if you're not familiar with it, Jira Service Management is a very flexible solution that provides multiple ways for your end users to raise a request. They can use, for example, email or the customer portal, which is what we see in front of us right now, or even through a widget embedded in your website. Out of the box, Jira Service Management will be able to handle typical ITSM processes like service request, change, incident, and problem management. But it can also be configured to match other types of use cases like HR portal, for example, that we see here on the screen. For the first part of this demo, I'm going to focus on the service request aspect of things. And on the portal, each service desk team will be able to expose their own service catalog. And this is what we see here with the different tiles on this main page. This decentralized approach empowers the team to optimize their service desk for their own use case and therefore provide better services to the end users. The end user can navigate through those different subportals in order to find the forms that they'll need. Each of these subportals is broken down into categories that are 100% configurable. And within each category, you're going to find different types of requests or forms that the end user can use to raise a request. These forms can be extremely simple, like this one, for example, that just has a summary and description and maybe a attachment that you can add, or it can be more complex with, for example, this form that will provide a bit more detail as to what the problem is and information that we need to capture to make sure that we have everything we need to get started on this request. The customer portal also provides a place for the customer to track their open requests and search through their history of requests. In here, they can filter through open or closed requests, and they are able to look at different types of requests they may have used in the past. There also is a section dedicated to approvals, and this tracks all open requests that are pending this user's approval. You can see here we have one request that is pending my approval, and I can do that straight from the portal right here based on the information I have on this request. One last thing to note about the customer portal is the search bar that is front and center on the main page. And the goal here is to provide a place for the end user to search through anything that they have access to across those different subportals. So here for this keyword, we can see that we have a couple of forms that are accessible to me and a couple of knowledge base articles coming from Confluence that I can use to maybe troubleshoot my issue on my own. Hopefully this provides the end user with enough information so they don't have to raise a ticket, which means that they're going to get the information they need quickly, but also it's one less request that our team will need to handle. Now let's jump into the service desk side to see how the team can handle this request. Once the request has been created, it comes in as a ticket and will be organized in queues. One of the new features of Jira Service Management is these top-level queues based on a different type of request: service request, incident, problem, and change. Each of these can be further broken down into sub-queues based on any criteria that we deem necessary, like, for example, the type of request, the criticality, and any of those items. I can create as many queues as I want, organize them as I'd like for my team, and adjust the ones that already exist. Now, looking at this example service request that we have here that was open for a request for a new device, for example. This request on the agent side will have a lot of information that's going to be extremely important to help us move this ticket along. To the right side, we see a set of fields that are going to capture specific information like who is our customer, what type of request they've opened, what priority this is. It can also show us knowledge base articles that are Confluence knowledge base articles presented here that could be shared with the customer if they are related to that use case. And we can also link specific assets thanks to Insight to provide some additional context around this request. Below this, we have our SLAs. SLAs can be configured to match your own specific needs. These ones, as you can see, are in danger. We have exceeded our time to first response, and our time to resolution is in danger as well. You can add and configure those fields to match your needs. It's entirely up to you. On the other side, in the center, we have most of the information that is going to be provided by the end user on the portal right there front and center. We can add comments or internal notes to collaborate with colleagues or reply to the customer if needed. Finally, at the top of this request, we can see that this request is currently pending an approval. This is a workflow step, and the workflow is a really important part of Jira Service Management because it really is the driver of the lifecycle of that specific request. We have different statuses, and between those statuses, we have transitions, and this helps us enforce some logic in terms of how we manage this sort of processes. This is really also what will drive reporting and automation and a lot of other things in Jira Service Management, including the SLAs, for example. Jira Service Management ships with a couple of workflows out of the box for change, service request, incident, problem, but these workflows can be configured to match your own business processes. So now let's have a look at incident management. This is indeed one of the areas with a lot of changes brought by the release of Jira Service Management. And one of the key items here is what Atlassian has done by combining Jira Service Management and Opsgenie. If you're not familiar with Opsgenie, it is an on-call and alerting solution that is now fully part of Jira Service Management. And it brings some interesting features for incident management as well. So first of all, Opsgenie centralizes all your alerts from your monitoring infrastructure by providing integrations with hundreds of the most common tools in the industry. And this is what we can see here on this screen, where we have hundreds of pre-built connectors that help integrate with whatever solution you have in place. Then Opsgenie provides powerful routing and notification capabilities to alert the agent on call. And this is based on teams as well, where we're going to be able to define schedules for those different teams and override them as needed to make sure that the notifications always go to the right person. And this can be done through text, email, phone calls. It's really open-ended. Finally, Opsgenie also provides features dedicated to incident management, as I mentioned, and incident swarming especially. So we'll look at some of these features in 2 seconds. But first, let's jump back into Jira, where we're going to initiate our incident process. Now, incidents could be generated through our alerting and monitoring rules that happen in Opsgenie, but here we're going to focus on a more common use case where a customer or end user actually raises an issue. And they can use the customer portal for this, just a specific type of request that we have here called report a system problem. And they can fill up this form to provide all the information that we're going to need to start looking into this issue. So you can see here some details about the problem, the services affected. They could add a screenshot if that was needed and provide some information about the impact. Now, once this information has been inputted, our team will be notified and will be able to start looking at this request from the agent side of things in Jira Service Management. Here we'll find all the information that the customer has provided from the portal, as well as some additional information to help us solve this specific incident. You'll notice that we have a different workflow here that is dedicated for incident management. This is a very simple out-of-the-box workflow that we have here. Now, as an agent and after doing some initial review, I may be realizing that this incident that is touching our website is a major incident, meaning that it requires immediate resolution. Now, my role is going to be to inform everyone and make sure that we have all the respondents working together to resolve this incident. So I can promote it to a major incident, and we're going to be unlocking some of Opsgenie new features here. And by doing this, by just clicking this button in Jira, I'm going to be creating a major incident in Opsgenie. So this is related to our website. We have the details. We're going to be able to select the severity and the priority here and create that new major incident. Once this is done, we have this new major incident linked to our ticket here, and we can jump on it from the Opsgenie perspective. Of course, the dedicated team related to that specific service would now be notified that there is a incident ongoing on one of the services that they have responsibility over. This is our pretty much our common center for incidents and for swarming around incidents. We have information related to the incident from the ticket, the service impacted, and we have additional information like the severity and the link to our ticket. You'll see here that we have a couple of features to help us swarm around this incident, including this video conferencing bridge that we're going to be able to set up right away to start collaborating together and to start working towards a resolution. So this is extremely helpful to make everyone on the same page and to be able to collaborate and try things and discuss possible causes and work towards resolution. So we have the video here that I'm not showing, but we also have a chat included that can help capture some of the information here. We also have the ability to create a Slack channel straight from Opsgenie, once again, to swarm around this issue and maximize the collaboration. We are also centralizing all the responders for this specific incident. And for each one individual, you can add a specific role to make sure that things remain organized and we understand what other people are doing. On the right, we have a timeline that is updated automatically with the actions that we take, or we can add manual entries to keep track and keep a record of decisions and actions taken. And this will prove very helpful later on when we do our post-mortem and post-incident review. Now, because this service is connected to a Bitbucket repository, I am able to use this feature to help diagnose this incident. And what we see here is a visualization of all our recent deployments. And we see here we had a recent deployment to our production instance number 92. So what I can do is use that information to select this as a potential cause and add that to our incident. Now, what would be a potential next step here is to ask our dev or DevOps team to actually go in and roll back that incident, that deployment, sorry, that could be the cause of our incident. So what we do is we can create from here a related task in Jira software for those teams to actually go in and roll that back. Now, assuming that this has been done and we're working towards a resolution and we potentially have resolved that issue and restored service now, we can move forward and resolve this specific incident here. So once this incident is resolved, I'm going to gain access to the postmortem feature that I'm going to start filling up. So this is provided directly by Opsgenie, and we have a template here with information to fill up to make sure that we capture everything that we need to capture for that specific incident and how we resolved it. Once we are ready, we can publish that item, note that some reporting will be generated by Opsgenie to provide details around additional information like the timeline, for example, and everything that happened throughout the process of resolving that incident. Once I'm done, I can export this to Confluence to keep there for future reference and easy access for the agents on the service desk. Now, of course, back into Jira Service Management, I can now close this request. That helps me communicate directly with the customer. We'll see that we had some updates done by Opsgenie here, and we can close the specific incident. This will, of course, notify the end users that raised this request, and we can also make sure that any duplicated items will be closed as well at the same time. Now, one thing to note is that if you're also using status page for your services, during the incident, you can have it notify your end users directly on the customer portal to make sure that you deflect as many tickets and give them the opportunity to potentially subscribe to notification for those. So let's now have a look at change management. And this is an area where we have a lot of new features with Jira Service Management and exciting things, especially related to DevOps. Of course, we can still utilize the customer portal, for example, to provide access to our change request forms, to make sure that we capture in there all the information that we need for a specific change, like, for example, the services affected, the type, the impact, the urgency. And we can even use automation rules to calculate risk levels, etc. So this is always possible to work this way, and this request, once it's submitted, will go through a process, a change process for normal or standard change, depending on the type of change, in a fairly standard fashion. But Jira Service Management now brings a lot of new items for DevOps teams that have to release more often and faster, but that still need to capture information related to change and make sure that it goes through the proper processes. So I'm going to focus on this for this demonstration around change management and show off some of those new features that are possible thanks to the integration of Jira Service Management and Bitbucket, for example, and Jira Software. So in our case, let's imagine that for our previous incident, the dev team has been working on a fix. They have a couple of things that have been done for that specific request that is now a Jira software bug that we're tracking in the system. You can see that we have this currently in QA, meaning that the devs have already done a bit of work and it's currently being tested. So we have one open pull request for this, and essentially I'm going to show you how this can trigger a change process. So here we're pretty much ready to merge those changes into our production branch. And that will actually in turn trigger a deployment to our production environment because we're using Bitbucket pipelines. So as I merge this pull request, a couple of actions will be triggered. First of all, our pipeline will be triggered in order to start the deployment of this new change to our production environment. And as we click on it, we can see that this is actually aiming to deploy to prod, and we can have a couple of steps that the system is going to go through in order to get there. What's going to be key here is that as I'm going through this, the system is going to recognize that what we're trying to do here is deploy or make changes to our production environment. And basically, the system will stop this deployment from happening, generate a Jira Service Management change request with the information related to this item, and wait for an approval until we can resume this. So this is what you see here, right? The deployment has been paused, and we see that we have a Jira Service Management request or change request that has been created. Now, as I click through this item, we'll see in Jira Service Management that the system has populated already the information related to that deployment. Now we see that we want to do this to a production environment. That is for our website service. We see the work items related to this, and we could automatically provide approvers based on the website, or sorry, the service that is affected. In this case, for my demo environment, I'd rather just put it manually. Once this is populated. And once again, we can add conditional information based on any of the criteria that we have here for this request. If I click approve, we are now essentially releasing this build to continue and move to production. So this is what you see here. Now that the system has recognized the approval, we can move forward in the process and deploy to production. So it doesn't really get much easier than this for the dev team to make sure that they comply with their change processes and capture the information for the changes that they make, and for the different IT users that are going to have to approve those changes. You can actually make this a little simpler as well by identifying specific standard changes that would be pre-approved. And in this case, you can use Jira Service Management automations to automatically approve those requests and remove that step of having a human go in and approve that request. Now, there's of course a lot more that we could look at in Jira Service Management, and this include Insight, the CMDB within the Atlassian ecosystem that we barely touched on today. But I want to use the reminder of our time together to look at the roadmap and the changes that are to come this year for Jira Service Management. So let's jump back in PowerPoint and have a look at this. So one of the important things to note here is that, of course, everything I showed is on Atlassian Cloud, and we'll talk a bit later about the different types of deployments. So one key thing around the roadmap, and that is fairly new actually to the Atlassian ecosystem, is the fact that Atlassian is now publishing the cloud roadmap, and a lot of the information about Jira Service Management is available here. So I highly recommend that you have a look at atlassian.com/roadmap to get a sense of what new features are coming and what we are expecting to see over the next year. And so this is the source of information that we use here for the next couple of items that we're going to mention. We basically selected a couple of items that relate directly, to Jira Service Management to make sure that we can bring those forward for you and that you can gain some visibility over this. So the first item that is already live and is related to Opsgenie is a new mobile app for Opsgenie. If you were familiar with the previous one, there's a couple of things that you were not able to do, like visualize the customized searches, straight in the tool or in the app, and have access to the postmortems. And you have as well a couple more options here around security to make sure everything is locked up. As well, already live, and this is something that we saw in the demo, is this new feature of investigation using a tool like Bitbucket, for example, and connecting that to your service will give you access to those recent deployments. So we know that Bitbucket works because that was the demo that we saw today, but they are also working on integration with GitLab to get to the same level of result here. Finally, Atlassian is reworking essentially the admin side of the Jira Service Management projects to make it a bit easier to navigate and to have better visibility over the different issue types and portal groups that you have in there. To rework the request type and filter a little bit more those items on that side. So the goal is to make it easier for the project level admins to get a better sense of how things are organized and how they can quickly adjust and configure the tool to match their own needs without having to request assistance. There is a lot of information that Atlassian is now communicating around performance at scale, and especially related to the cloud offering. So here, Atlassian has been working super hard over the last couple of months or over the last year, essentially, to bring the cloud services up to the levels of scales that were not seen before. So right now, the user limit in the cloud is about 20,000 users. That's an early access program, and they're planning on bringing this to a general release sometime in 2021, I think Q3 or Q4. The premium and enterprise plans are very helpful with this. They will provide everything that you might expect from an enterprise standpoint in terms of availability, SLAs that are financially backed. Finally, we know that Atlassian is closely following the application performance on the cloud, and they're starting to bring out regular reporting around these items to make sure that they communicate as transparently as possible around this. The one of the most expected changes is going to be the integration of Mindville Insights Asset Management, which is an app that Atlassian purchased sometimes like last year. And the goal will be to really have a seamless integration between Insights. So this is our CMDB and the Atlassian tools. And you can see on this screenshot, here we have a lot more visibility over the information for that specific asset. So we are really excited about this, and it's supposed to happen sometime fairly soon, and it will be part of the premium and enterprise plans for Jira Service Management. There is a lot more that's going to happen around conversational integration as well to help integrate with Slack and Teams for end user communication and help manage those conversations and the ticket creation in Jira Service Management. And this is based on another acquisition that Atlassian has done over the last year, which was Help. And this tool, so this is something that we know they're working on as well. And hopefully we'll see some of the first level of integration sometime this year. Once again, Atlassian is looking at making it easier for the admins to really create the project or the service desk, let's say, that you need. And one of the items that they're looking into is allowing you to toggle on and off essentially different features or practices within a Jira Service Management project, meaning that you'll be able to say, hey, I just want to do maybe service requests in that project and deactivate the rest, or just select a couple of items that you want to have there. So if you haven't been able to access those features right now, just a couple of notes on what to expect and how it should work. So first of all, if you were using Jira Service Desk Cloud, you should now have Jira Service Management, right? It's been rolled out by Atlassian since November, so most of you out there should be on Jira Service Management, no longer see Jira Service Desk, but just see Jira Service Management. It is possible, however, that if you haven't changed anything to what you're doing, you're not seeing some of those new features. And the reason why is you'll have to use the ITSM template for those different queues that we talked about and some of the option integration to get visibility over this. If you were using Jira Service Desk Server or Data Center, well, then you need to upgrade. And the version for Jira Service Management is 4.14, and that's where it starts to be Jira Service Management. It brings some of the integrations that we talked about, but you actually need to go through the process of upgrading to benefit from those integrations. And of course, if you're just starting and want to get started with Jira Service Management, you'll have to make a decision between cloud and data center. Once again, note that what we've seen today is the cloud interface. The data center is slightly different. Data center is simply a version of the tool that you can host on-prem versus the SaaS cloud version. And it provides a couple of features around, for example, high availability, where you can have active clusters if you have a really important service.